Are the new legendary servers Angmar and Mordor worth playing on in Lord of the Rings Online, or, well, legendary servers in general? That's the topic we're going to discuss here today, but before going into the meat and potatoes of it, for those who are just looking for a quick answer, I'll say it right away, yes, they're worth it, though it depends what you want to get out of Lotro. Just story and questing? Go for the classic servers. Are you looking for a fresh MMORPG experience? Legendary servers are fantastic for that. For the rest of the video, I'll explain why I think those are the major factors for deciding it, so let's dive in. First of all, a legendary server is not exactly the same as a classic server going back in time, but instead it is a full, up-to-date version of Lotro, balance and patches and everything wise, but the content is cut at the end of the base game at level 50, and as time goes on, they periodically expand this limit through the existing expansions of Moria, Mirkwood, Isengard, Rohan, and so on, which is roughly every 4 months at the moment. This means players are restricted to the zones and content that are available based on the current expansion, but since the world is up to date, you can still bump into very tiny amounts of quests that you might not be able to finish as they require a newer zone. This gives you a feeling of what I meant by the world being modern and up to date, and it's not a true classic experience. I won't go into this more than saying that legendary worlds are also limited behind being a VIP player and a subscription wall, so you have to consider that too, whether it is worth for you or not. Now, I said I think the main factor for playing on a legendary server is if you want a fresh MMORPG feeling for yourself while also just getting into Lotro, and by that I mostly mean the social experience of playing an MMO. If you're a veteran of the genre, by now you must have experienced the crazy rush of a new MMO's launch or the launch of a new expansion. Everyone being there, excited and playing day and night to soak in everything that's new as fast as possible, releasing such energy that's just really rare in life, I think, and is extremely contagious. Legendary servers somewhat replicate this feeling with their structure and emulate the progression of an MMO's life each time the world expands to the next expansion. Additionally, since content is limited to allowed expansions, this also means players will be engaging with the quests, dungeons, and endgame of that content, and make the game feel much more populated at those areas. So given that you join a legendary server relatively early on, you will get a good chance to experience the endgame of each expansion. A quick note here that since balance is also up to date, unfortunately legendary servers still do not give the same experience of dungeons as originally, as all the new classes, abilities, and balancing is also applied, making older areas somewhat easier, but the devs are trying to counter this. Legendary servers also have a gimmick. The new Mordor and Angmar servers have the Veil of the Nine events, with the ring wraiths chasing the players and giving a sense of dread while adventuring. Treebeard server has slower progression, Shadowfax a faster progression, and you can only have these on the specific legendary servers. Final thing I would mention is that legendary servers in the past have had the tendency to shut down before they would catch up with the live servers, as while they are super fun to begin with, it takes a long time for them to catch up. And as time goes on and the deeper you get into the expansions, the novelty of a legendary server kind of wears off since you have to play catch up with the other players same as on a normal server, and so the population dwindles. But at these points you usually are given a proper chance to transfer over to normal servers with everything you have. So as you can hopefully feel by now, in my opinion, a legendary server is fantastic to play Lotro on, but it's also a heavily social experience, and to make it truly worth it, you have to enjoy playing with others and being involved with the server overall. Joining in early, enjoying having others around, grouping up for quests, dungeons, instances, or endgame, and wait together with the others for the next expansion's rush of excitement. With all that said, then it should make much more sense now why I say choosing a classic server fits solo players much more, as most of the negative aspects of them do not affect you at all. If your main goal is to journey into Middle-earth, experience the quests, the main story at your own pace, and just, well, play the base game, without any major desire to group up with others or play the endgame of the older expansions, then a classic server will do just fine for you. In fact, they will be better as you won't have to wait months to continue the main story if you end up finishing your expansion. That's not to say you cannot group up on a classic server either. There will be new players there as well, and veterans will likely be keen to help you with older dungeons, so you can still experience them, and the how will vary on people you run them with. Maybe it is worth mentioning here that if the future planned downscaling level system will be successful, I guess doing older content on live servers will also be a lot more popular thanks to the rewards and incentives they would give, but that's a discussion for the future. Classic servers can also be a big draw-in for players who like endgame content and raiding, since while legendary servers do have their endgame, they tend to be on the easier side and aren't the modern up-to-date design dungeons. So if you're a hardcore raider and want to experience the hardest fights of Lord of the Rings Online, you want to get to the highest levels of Lotro and try your luck there. Then contrary to legendary servers, classic worlds will not have the massive shifts in population over time, so if you start on a popular server, you will likely be very safe and you don't have to bother about whether people will stay or leave, and the community there will be somewhat constant and safe. Though I do have to point out that for the legendary server Mordor, it is the very first server that's physically in Europe at the moment, and so that server will likely keep its population up, but we will see. So to sum this part up, classic servers are great for content-hungry players who just want to play through all of Lord of the Rings Online in one go or at your own pace, without being limited at any point until the very end. It's great for solo players who don't particularly care about playing with others or being part of the social aspect of an MMO, or players who want to get to endgame and raid in Lotro at the very end. Briefly, I would also like to mention the role-playing community of Lord of the Rings Online, as it is a robust and famous section of the community, having almost daily role-playing events, theatrical plays, musical bands, and all kinds of fun immersive activities that you can join, and these communities exist on specific non-legendary servers like Lorelin and Landroval, so if you're looking for heavy role-playing, it's worth reading after these servers before choosing where to go. So that would be the conclusion of what's the difference between starting on a legendary server or a classic server in Lotro, at least from my perspective, since it's just one of many, and who knows what preferences I haven't considered, but I hope it helped you make a decision nonetheless. Thank you for watching this video. If you got here, definitely make sure to comment Bilbo below so that I know you were here. Let me know what you think of this topic and what are major factors in your opinion to make a choice between servers. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more Lord of the Rings Online content, and I'll see you all the next time.